Welcome to the Write Good Books podcast, the audio companion to WriteGoodBooks.com, with your host Jason Bougger.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jason. I'm here with our co-host Scott Michael Childers. You doing good?
I'm doing good. Are you doing good?
I'm always doing good. I had a little bit of a cough though, so bear with me, audience. So, this week I wanted to talk about something that I'm actually a little bit passionate about, and I'm not passionate about a lot of things. So, maybe you'll be able to tell, maybe not, but I've been to in the last few years, I've been to 2 Rocky Mountain fiction writing conferences. I've been to 4 or 5 Nebraska Writers Guild conferences. I've spoke at 2 science fiction conventions, and I've done a handful of author events. Why do you care?
Why do we care?
Why do we care? At those events, I meet lots of writers. I talk to lots and lots of writers of various levels. And I've met some that have been published and some who have not, and yada, yada, yada. But what's interesting is I was at one event where I had one published author say to me, while we were discussing our books, he said, my publisher cut me a pretty good deal, and it only cost X amount of dollars to edit, so I had to take him up on that offer. And I had another author ask me how much I paid to be published. And the answer I gave him was 0, but that's neither here nor there. In both of those cases, it raises a real big red flag to me, because these weren't self-published authors. These were, I guess I'll say, traditionally published authors.
Well, at least that's what they
in their mind.
At least what they were thinking they were.
When what it really came down to was without telling them in their face, because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings or whatever, I felt like those 2 authors were scammed. So I wanted to do a podcast on writing scams. Before we go too far, though, I want to make a big disclaimer. We're not talking about self-publishing here. When you self-publish, you should expect to pay for certain services such as cover art, editing, print copies, and distribution.
Right. And I think we went over that in our self-publishing episode near the beginning of the year. That was probably, 4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah.
And so, we're not talking about the self-publishing route, which, I've self-published. But, I agree. What they thought was traditional publishing may not have been.
Right. So I guess we want to give a few of the things you should look out for if you see this in a publisher or in a publishing contract or in a random email from someone claiming to be a publisher. That what they're offering may not be what it seems.
So what's first on our list of things to watch out for?
I think first and foremost should be a traditional publisher should never charge you for their services or require you to buy any contributors' copies. I feel like if that's the case, they're not a publisher. They're charging you to do the work they should be doing as a publisher, and their target audience is not readers. Their target audience is authors. So they're masquerading as a publisher, saying, hey, publish with us, we'll publish your book as is, or we'll charge you to edit it. We'll charge you to do the art. We'll offer you services that if you self-publish, you would provide on your own, but with a traditional publisher, you should not be providing on your own.
And do they promise any marketing?
Oh, they may make misleading charges about that.
Or you could buy our special marketing package.
There you go. Charge it for I've literally I've looked up some of these, and I don't want to name any companies, but let's real quick say there are places where you can find these lists.
Yeah, one of them was Writers Beware. That's the one I'm aware of. And
Predators and Editors. I think Writers Beware is that app.
That is from Science Fiction Writers.
There you go.
SFWA. So there's the Science Fiction Writers Association organization group.
We'll put links in the notes.
Yeah, and Predators and Editors, that's another good one. So I think here's the skinny on these things. These are organizations that if they were selling their services as a organization that helps self-publishers, that'd be completely on the up and up. But they're not. They're doing the same thing that these self-publishing assistance organizations?
They're doing what some self-publishing groups do, but if you look at the Better Business Bureau on some of these sites, they're not. They're selling you editing service, but they're not really editing. You know, they're selling you marketing services, but they're not really marketing. They're really scamming you out of your money.
So basically, you're paying to write, which is kind of opposite of trying to write for a living. You're paying for the privilege of writing.
Right. And where they'll get you, they'll sell your book $25, $30, you know, and you're buying boxes of books at these outlandish prices where if you go the self-publishing route, your copies are going to be just for cost, and then you can go sell them and pocket the earnings. I guess the biggest way I say to find out if the publisher you're looking at is legitimate or not is go to their website, and you'll know first thing when you get to their website what they're selling. If they tell you how great their authors are and you see a whole bunch of book covers from authors that they're trying to sell on their website, you'll know that that's what they're selling. They're selling books to people. If you go to their website and they're saying, publish with us and you'll get this and this and this, they're not selling books. They're selling their service to writers.
Right. And the ones, if they're saying, we're a publisher, and they're saying that, that's bad.
Yeah.
If they're a freelance editor, and they're saying that, that's good. They're saying they're a freelance editor.
Exactly.
Their quality is something we're not going to talk about on this webcast because we haven't looked at them all. But that's the difference. If they're saying they're a publisher, but they're quacking like a duck, something's not right in Bismarck. And I've just put like 3 different analogies into one stupid saying. And you can quote me on that.
You're a regular Jim Ross. So back to the topic at hand. Now, you go to their website. If they're selling why we're great and here's what we offer you, then they're not a publisher. They're providing a service they want you to pay for, and the only target that they're going to sell their books to is you and your parents.
No, they're expecting you to tell your parents to buy books. So, all right. So I think we put that one in the ground nicely.
Yeah, we did.
What's our next topic?
A publisher will never contact you for anything unless you're a famous celebrity.
So, if you're not a famous celebrity.
If you're not a famous celebrity. If your name is Jason Bougger and you have a small press book that hardly anybody has bought, and somebody comes up and says, we want to publish your book, I'm going to say, well, that's interesting because my book's already been published. But, you know, if you're just a writer and you get an email from somebody saying they want to publish your book, they don't know you. If you're not established, they're not going to say, oh, this guy looks so cool, I want to publish his book. No, they want to solicit money from you, I would say.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. Unless you are famous already and they are trying to sell a book on your name only, then yeah, they're chasing someone that will pay something or lock in some sort of really bad deal that would cost you a lot to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Which is a good lead-in to bad contracts and bad deals with publishers, or publishers in quotation marks. When you get something published, a short story or a novel, or even a series of novels, I suppose, or an audiobook or whatever, there should be a contract you sign.
Well, in the contracts, what should they have, right? They should have what's expected of you as author, what's expected of them as publisher, who's paying who for what, who owns the material, which is a big one.
Oh, yeah.
I've been reading some horror stories where they sign a contract and the copyright of that work stays with the publisher forever. And can be sold without any further contact with the author for whatever reason. The only thing they're getting royalties on is that first publishing, and then any anthologies or collected works or whatever don't show up in the author's paycheck. Bad contracts.
Bad contracts. Some of these more shady ones could have really unfair buyout clauses. I'm not sure how much I should say about my contract. Mine has had a pretty reasonable one where if I pull out early, I had to pay the editing or, you know,
a nominal fee.
Yeah, a very nominal fee. But I've seen some of these online where, in the thousands of dollars to buy your own work back from a publisher who's not even a publisher. I think in a contract it should list, specifically how they pay, how often they pay, any discounts you get for your contributors' copies, just your basic royalties schedule. And they should say up front the terms, how long the contract lasts. No contract should be indefinite, I wouldn't think.
Well, a contract can last however long you want it to be. I would not recommend anyone sign an indefinite length contract.
Right.
A contract till infinity and beyond.
Yeah. I think a typical one may be for a certain fixed number of years, say 2, and auto-renews until either party decides not to, with no termination fee after that. Just looking at various writing contract examples I've seen online, those kind of match up to mine as well.
All right, so it kind of going with the whole contract bit. There's also the people who will contact you to do something because it would be good exposure for you. Hey, write this piece on my website. Write my copy for my ad campaign, because it'll be good for your exposure. Bull hockey.
Yeah.
If you're writing for exposure, you're not writing for anything.
Right. I mean, it's really got to be a prestigious site asking for that.
Yeah. And I'll give you an example that might give you a warning here. Back in the days when everyone was a web designer, I was one too for a while, freelance web designer. Just like, 9/10 of the people my age at that time. And someone came to me and said, hey, work with us on this website for this group. And it's like, hey, that'll be great. I could put it in my portfolio, which included 2 other sites, right? So I needed another one. A couple of years go past. That organization comes back to me. Says, why is our site in your portfolio? You didn't do anything for us. I said, yes, I did. I had this person. This person came to me and I did the site for them. And it's like, do you have the contract? It's like, well, how were you paid? Well, they told me they got money from petty cash. So I had no contract. I had no paper trail. It was a very small fee. It was for exposure, basically. But I did get paid a little bit. But all of that backfired because no contract. Apparently this person, that was their job. And they subcontracted it out to me, probably illegally.
Probably.
So beware of doing people favors, doing it for exposure, doing it for cash. Not a good idea long term.
Yeah, everybody can fall victim to this at some point. Some other stuff in a contract. I've heard some writers talk about that they discovered after the fact that their contract didn't mention third-party sellers, and I know a couple of somewhat successful authors who had discovered that they were not getting royalties on Amazon sales, that their publisher had said only royalties come from direct sales from us, not from third-party retailers. Well, when 90% of your sales come from Amazon, you're not getting paid. So look out for that.
Yeah. And also look out for contracts that are very specific on the medium. So is your contract allow them to publish an ebook but not give you any royalties on ebooks? Make sure what they are contracting for as far as what they're going to publish matches what they're going to pay you. And if you happen to get a contract with one of the bigs, you're probably not going to run into these things. We're talking about the very lowest end of the spectrum of publishing houses.
Right.
I don't even want to call them publishing houses. I want to call them publishing sheds.
Yeah, a lot of these are, a lot of these aren't even that. They're basically just scam artists trying to get you to buy your own book. This is why it never hurts to have an agent, but getting an agent is never easy.
It's
in
work.
The literary world.
It's work. I think that whole agent thing, that's a topic for another podcast.
Yeah. I haven't done one yet because I haven't been successful.
Oh, yeah, that would help.
As soon as I am, we'll do one on how I got my agent. Although we will bring this up again, though.
Yes.
But as far as that, I think we covered what I wanted to cover. Just always remember, a real publisher will not charge you a penny for anything, and they won't just out of the blue contract you. And if you sign with one of them, be prepared to be in a lot of trouble with us, because we'll say, we told you not to do that. And you risk being trapped in a long-term contract with one of these people that you're going to be buying your way out of, or finding a good lawyer to help you buy your way out of. So, on that somewhat sad note, do you have any closing thoughts for us, Scott?
You are now aware that there are risks, and I don't think, now that you're aware of those risks, you will be taken in, because you are now no longer naive. You are educated. You are enlightened. Thank you for letting us illuminate that I can't even say that with a straight face. But yeah, I think it's for some people, the lessons will be learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And if this has happened to you, hey, we're sorry.
Yeah, it's, you're chasing your dream, you make mistakes. And I guess on that note, we'll say goodbye. If you'd like to support us, check us out on the web at www.writegoodbooks.com/podcast, and see you next time.
See ya.